And, one of the big pieces of news that came out is there will actually be a spring game. He's been calling it a spring showcase for, a few weeks now. And he decided to just confirm with everybody that, yeah, today or this year, there will still be a spring game. So he called it a spring showcase to kind of give himself some wiggle room in case there was injury or, he thought his team needed more rest. So, what are your thoughts on the fact that there will actually be a spring game and, it's kind of going to go on as normal?
I'm happy as a fan. Again, last time we talked about this, Ryan, I told you very passionately that I believe the spring games are a time where a lot of families are able to go see their team play. So they'll bring their kids. Sometimes they can't afford it. It allows them a chance to go see their team and what they look like. Because let's be honest here, and this isn't every football fan base, but let's talk specifically about ours. We love our team. we really do. We love our program. And I think that it's a full year thing, a full year round thing for us as fans of the Buckeyes. So I'm happy about that. For the team, I'm glad that again, he said showcase, and I get why he did that. But I think it's also to show that I'm gonna assume there's gonna be some hitting, but like the last few years, as we've seen, it's gonna be very, very limited. Again, I'm not upset with that. I'm very okay with that. I remember last year, everyone, all the rival people would talk about Ohio State being soft and not hitting, and I said, well, knowing that there's a chance you can probably play 16 some games. No, I don't want you hitting in the spring. I don't.
Yeah.
NFL teams don't, like NFL players, they don't. So it's but I like the idea. How about you?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yes, no, absolutely happy that this is happening. Like you mentioned, it's good for the families that want to go out there. It's a cheap ticket. Good chance for them to go see, who's playing well in the spring, who's on the depth chart, high up on the depth chart as we, end spring and head into fall camp. Like you said, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of hitting, which there hasn't been the last few years on Orion Day. So I didn't expect that to change. And I agree with you in the fact that is good. The last thing you want is some sort of injury coming out here. I know Mitchell Melton had, he tore his ACL once during a spring game, but those non-contact things, those can happen during practice. As we saw with Seth McLaughlin, he tore his Achilles, during practice. Those non-contact injuries, you can never escape those. But you can mitigate risk of injury from having a full-on, tackle football game. And that's obviously not what they're going to do. And I think it's, I think it's smart that they're still doing it because the fans love it. The Ohio State fans, that they show out, there could be 50, 60,000 people at the game, depending on how the weather is. So I think it's great. And, we've lamented here in the last few weeks the different programs who are canceling their spring games. And it's just good to see that Ohio State is not going that way. And I completely understand Day saying that, like, hey, I wanted to give myself some wiggle room in case we do have some injuries later in the spring. And, you want to make sure that he didn't promise a full spring game and then it not happen because of injuries, or he thinks his team needs rest, things of that nature. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And, this was some good news today.
Is there just I guess specifically for the spring game and the showcase, is there a specific way that you would like it to be ran? Whether it be 7-on-7 or more?
No, I definitely wouldn't prefer more 7-on-7. I like the way that they've been doing it, as far as it's still 11-on-11. You still get to see. Look, you're not going to learn a ton from the defense specifically, and also the running backs, because like they're going to do two-hand touch. They're not going to wrap and bring anyone to the ground. So it's kind of hard to discern what we're really going to get from the running game, which is kind of a bummer considering you don't have a whole lot of experience at the running back position besides CJ Donaldson.
Yeah.
So, but again, that is what it is. It's one of those things that you take as long as you're mitigating the injury risk, but you can still learn some things. You can definitely learn how the quarterback, how the ball's coming out of the quarterback's hands. You can learn how the defensive backs are playing those routes. I think the way they've been doing it is fine. Now, if they want to scale some of that back and not do, quite as long of an 11 on 11 session and then bring on some 7 on 7, that's fine. But I do need to see some 11 on 11. What about you?
Yeah, you got to see it. And cause at the end of the day, it's in football, you can't, if one guy's not doing his job, then it can screw up everything else that's going on. And so you have to get everyone out there, have to see what it looks like. Again, like I try to remind people, a spring game is not the place to judge. I think there's specific things you can look for in terms of, where guys are lining up. I would say you can look for personal improvements. Like if I'm watching, I'm looking to see what are you doing with your hands. How are your feet moving? Are you able to mirror or shade the wide receiver? If you're someone, someone that who I personally, because I'm from the same area as him, I'm delighted hearing good news about him. If you're someone like Gabe Van Sickle, I want to see, okay, how are you, what improvements have you made coming in from your freshman and sophomore year? How many positions on the O-line can you play, knowing that now, Ryan Day has talked about having multiple guys, everyone being able to have a primary and secondary position on the O-line. Those things I'm looking for. But I'm not looking to see what a quarterback looks like. Just recently I had disagreement here with, my guy Darren from Darren Talks Ball, Michigan fan, but great Big Ten program. And he talked about he was comparing Dante Moore and Julian Santa about their tape. And I said, well, I disagree with him saying, I don't think there's any valuable tape for either player. And I'm definitely not taking it like the few snaps from Julian Santa during the season. We threw 12 passes, 5 of those passes came in one game.
Yeah.
And then, he threw some balls in the spring game where he's not working with the first team. He's going against the first team defense, though. Mind you, in spring games, the defense will always have the drop on the offense because they've been seeing these plays all week, all month, and that's for a few months. And that's just it. It is what it is. Yeah. Mind you, Justin Fields went 4 for 13 in the spring game.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely take more from what Dante Moore's put on tape. He almost started an entire season. So, he's definitely got more tape out there. But completely agree with you on that. As far as the Big Ten Network will air it, they do it every year. So that will be, that won't be a problem. Their ability, they're going to go ahead and show the game. Ohio State is their biggest. Ohio State's, quite frankly, it's their biggest product on the Big Ten Network, so they'll definitely showcase that. There was, some other good news that I saw, come across as far as the Buckeyes go. They seem to be really impressed with how Sayan has done so far this spring, which is good to see. And I also saw something interesting. This came from a Buckeye Huddle, that James Peoples has actually been more – he's asking to watch pass protection film with the offensive linemen because he knows that's an area that he's weak in, and he wants to improve on that. And I find that's, quite frankly, very refreshing. They're like, he knows where he lacks, and he wants to make up for that, so he's going to do everything he can to try to improve that part of his game because he knows it's going to be very – that running back, the backup running back spot is not stepped in stone yet. And he still thinks he can win the starting job over CJ Donaldson, who's also looked really good. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that, as far as Peoples really getting in there and trying to grind with the offensive linemen on film.
First of all, I love that. One of the things I've been harping on when it comes to this new running back room is that usually when you have a bunch of young guys, that means they're probably not that good at pass defense, pass block. Usually they're not, because coming out of high school, that's something that you usually don't have to do because you're the star guy. They're giving you the running back, and that just is what it is. But to hear James was doing that, I love it. That means he tried to become a more complete back. Just recently, I saw Todd McShay was talking about Travion Henderson and only going through his blocks from the season, only going through the block. And you look back with Ezekiel Elliott, and a lot of people forget the reason Zeke got drafted so high was because he was seen as the best. Yes, he was a really good, basically great running back, but he was really good at pass blocking. And at that time, Dak Prescott was not supposed to be the quarterback. It was supposed to be Tony Romo, and they needed someone else to protect him. So
he wasn't just a good pass blocker; he was a good receiver too. Like he was a full package.
He could do it all.
Yeah.
And I believe that for James Peoples, and by the way, James Peoples, you are a unit. You are. I was looking at his arms, man. I was like, man, how's he can't even touch his shoulders?
Yeah.
But well, I'm very happy to hear that. Coach Lockley, he's said a lot about this running back room. I think he trusts his running backs, but you gotta see it. You gotta see it day by day. Again, we have no soft batch cookies in that running back room.
Yep.
No. So.
Agreed.